This video is brought to you by our friends at Gelatinous Cube Soap. Please check out their Kickstarter. There's only a few days remaining.
Why are the kobolds always so dirty?
Because they work in the mine.
And we don't have anything good to clean them with. The soaps that we have just don't quite cut it.
Sure, those mines do get rather chalked up with a lot of dust. Let me
Yes.
check, see if we have anything in the back.
Hopefully you can find something. Wait, before you go. There's some smoke and something's coming out of it.
And it's not me this time.
Are we sure about that?
Well, I don't think it's an alternate universe Ephraim, because this looks like a gnome.
This place doesn't really look familiar to me.
And neither you to us.
Oh, hi. My name's Edana. Can you tell me perhaps where I am?
Well, you are in the realm of forgotten memories and dreams. You said your name was Edna? Like Edna Mode, or...?
Oh, no, silly. My name is Edana Volmaera. I am an alchemist extraordinaire at your service.
Ah, Edana. I need to remember that. I am not necessarily the best with names sometimes. Sorry about that. But an alchemist.
Yes.
Well, I guess we have a guest to interview.
Oh, a guest? Me? Interview? Oh my goodness. I am so excited. I have never, ever been interviewed before. I have talked a lot about myself, I suppose, but never to somebody who actually wanted to hear it.
Yes, we do love interviewing people.
We'd be happy to listen.
Oh, wonderful. Ooh, kitty.
Oh, where are our manners? We should introduce ourselves. We are the Delegation of Dreamers. I am Rue.
I'm Ephraim.
I am Ashura. Would you like to take a seat?
I would love to. Do you mind if I make some tea?
Oh, by all means.
Excellent.
We usually treat our guests to tea.
Oh, well, if you have some, I'd love to try what you have made, or else I can bring out... You know what I'll bring out? I will bring out some cloudberry cakes.
Ooh, I've never heard of a cloudberry.
It's a delicacy where I'm from.
I never heard of a cake.
What? A cake? Surely you must be joking.
Well, there's a lot of things we don't have in this realm because they haven't been forgotten yet. One moment. Jeremy, could you go get some tea? Yes, some of that tea. Yes, thank you. We have a tea. I can't remember what its name is.
Ironic.
Which is... Yes, it's
Perhaps
ironic.
It's been forgotten.
It might be it's time to move on from this realm and into the...
The realm of actually forgotten?
Yeah, into the afterlife, so to speak.
Ah.
Once things are forgotten here, they're kind of forgotten forever, from what I understand.
But I think it's called the almost forgotten tea.
We can go with that. Jeremy will be back in just a moment, so let's get you comfortable, and we can start the interview.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I suppose I don't really exactly remember what I was trying to do. Oh, never mind. I was actually trying to remember something for one of my researches, and then all of a sudden, I'm here. So I guess perhaps that memory has moved on to the truly forgotten realm.
It's always a possibility. Were you messing around with anything when you were thinking that?
Oh, well, I have been experimenting on memory recall, and we have an item that we call a zero gas. It's made from the... maybe I shouldn't mention it, actually. Yes.
Zero gas?
Yes, zero. It's a very rare item. I actually have been working on producing it synthetically, and so this was actually my first attempt at synthetic gas, but I guess maybe it takes me to other realms of memory and not of my own.
Maybe you just need to tweak the formula a little bit.
Perhaps.
Maybe you have too much of something in it that is tampering with reality.
I would say you're quite right, actually. But I'm sure that the alchemical eccentricities may not be something of interest. I don't know. I could talk about it for hours.
Well, normally I would actually be pretty interested, but we do have usually a time frame So let's leave the eccentricities of it for maybe the next time you visit, if that happens.
Wonderful.
I would rather learn where you come from.
Oh, right. Of course. So, well, I am from a world called Ekanish. Goodness, I suppose really it's more interesting to call it what we generally say is the bridge world.
Is it located between two worlds?
No, actually, funnily enough, it is one world that is held together by massive bridges. Long, 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 for really recorded history, honestly, what we think happened was that it was broken apart in a god war, and before the pieces of our world could get too far apart, the ancient engineers were able to build these massive bridges to keep the pieces of our world together. And we believe that there are approximately 7 bridges. We've only found 2 and populated them. So we have the 2 massive bridge cities of Neolith and Monolith. But the theory is that, like as I mentioned, there are, we believe, at least 5 more, though we haven't been able to find them yet. It's a difficult exploration. But in theory, they're out there.
Well, I have no doubt that someone will find them, but that does sound like an undertaking. And populating bridges, you say?
Oh, yes, well,
Like living on them?
yes, the 2 that I have been to have become hubs of civilization, really. Neolith is the one that is a little bit larger than Monolith, and its city spans the entire length of the bridge and spreads out beyond it, too. I actually went to university there, so I am quite familiar with the area.
And that's where you became an alchemist?
I studied for 8 years to be an alchemist at the University of Neolith, and just recently I've completed my studies, so I am now a fully fledged university alchemist. I even have metal. Look at this. So beautiful. It's a little larger on me, but everybody gets the same size.
Anyone who studies at the university or just...
Oh no, this is specifically for alchemists, although the other types of options for, mages and scientists and other things that are there, they obviously have their own kind of requirements and rewards. But this is for me, and everywhere I go, I can show this. And if I go to Monolith or go somewhere else, like going back to the Dales, for example, this is essentially what I can show in order to get assistance from any alchemist in the area.
Well, that's quite a nice little thing to have.
It is very much so. This metal will essentially open doors across the bridge world for me. If I need to get some aid from other alchemists in other parts of the country, or even out in the Dales, sometimes even beyond the wastes, I can gain assistance for, if I am missing reagents and I need to find something specific. If I don't have it, I can get other alchemists to assist me.
That's very useful to have.
Like giving you a back rub if you need it?
Well, I actually don't need that. That's what a husband is for. So, Curtis got that down pat.
Did you meet Curse at the academy?
Oh, no, I did not. I met him when he was trying to steal some of my things.
And you are married to someone who tried to steal your things now.
Oh, yes, he's absolutely amazing, and I love him very much. And, sometimes it's very useful to have somebody who is able to find things.
It's a heck of a meet cute.
Oh, I know. Well, I should say, so I met Curtis when he was trying to find my pocket watch, but fortunately my pocket watch is very difficult to lose, and I was able to retrieve it quite easily. But it turns out it wasn't really that he needed the pocket watch, he just needed some money. So all he had to do was really ask, and of course, I occasionally need the assistance of people to send messages, and so I was happy to allow him to send a few messages back to some of my associates for a little coin, and we kept in touch through that. And he's a very sweet man. He has a penchant for finding things, and sometimes it's useful for me. Other times it's I guess you would say a little risky when you're finding things off of people that have an entourage of guards But he enjoys it, so, who am I to stifle his creativity?
I can appreciate that sentiment. Though, you were talking about your pocket watch, and
Yes,
that seems to be maybe not necessarily a magical item, but definitely a unique item. Do you have very many magical items on you?
I have a few, but I will say, before I show you, this pocket watch has second hand. Virtually unheard of. I got it from the engineers. So, you're right, it's not a magical item, but it is a precision tool that I have come to appreciate very much.
Yes.
You mentioned magic items. Hold on. So I take out a few small things. Well, I have my rebreather. I have my...
I noticed that you have an aura about you. Could you explain that while you're getting your things out?
an aura, you say?
Yes, it's almost divine.
Oh, right. I forget it's there sometimes because I don't have that. Never mind. That's not important. So I inadvertently came across a mantle. Do you all have, gods here?
Yes.
Oh, good.
We have forgotten gods.
Right. Well, perhaps maybe some of the Bridgeworld's gods you might be familiar with. Most of them are forgotten and or dead. This is actually a mantle of one that we believe might have something to do with either engineering or alchemy or mechanica, but I don't know how to access it yet. See, we need at least one more piece. The mantle here, it has the power, but it can't be used unless you have a Newman calyx. And of course, those are very difficult and rare to come by on the best of days, and nearly impossible when you have no idea where to look. So maybe one day I will happen across one, but otherwise, I just have this nice little glow, as you put it.
Yes.
I think I understood half of those words. What's a Numen calyx?
Oh, the Newman calyx, that is actually the other portion of I guess you would call it a soul of a god. It's essentially what is used to actually access the power of a mantle, if that makes sense.
Not at all.
Say, it makes sense to me, so at least that counts for something. You've pulled out some interesting items. What's that little box?
It's called a communications puzzle box, or at least that's what I call it. Most of my family just call it the puzzle box. And this is a way for us to keep in touch. A lot of us are spread out all across the bridge world. Most of my family travels quite frequently, and so we are able to communicate. Here, I'll actually show you how it works. And I go through the process of twisting and pressing different aspects of this box, and then it glows all one color, and I get to pull out this tiny little thing that you see here. It's like a little tray, so to speak, right? And then in the tray is my writing implement and my paper, and then all I need to do is write it out. And I'm going to tell them about this interview right now, actually. Everything's fine. Being interviewed in the realm of forgotten memories. Be back soon, Edana. Okay, and then all you do, depending on who you want to send it to, there's different combinations of codes. So we'll tuck that away. Do one for... We'll send it to my father. How about that? And then it glows this color right here. This red is for him. And then it'll send it straight to him. He'll get the glow from me, and then he'll know that I've sent him a message.
I wonder if it'll work between the realms. That's actually an interesting thing to think about.
Well, if I would tell you when I return back to my world to see if he got it.
Why don't I make a copy of this device?
Ooh.
It's not easy to do, but I should be able to replicate it using magic. Give me 1 minute. Do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and that is where it's at. Boom! Now I have one.
Ooh.
I don't think I'll be able to use it to send anything back to you because I'm horrible at combinations, but you can at least tell me if it worked when you get back.
Definitely. If it works, all you have to do, how about I write it out for you before I leave? Then you can have a good idea of at least how to open it.
Yes.
Otherwise, we could just use it as a big dice.
I suppose you could. You can just draw some little dots on it. That would be one way to use it, I suppose.
I think the kobolds would enjoy it indeed.
Anyway, you also have some other magical items with you that are also interesting.
Yes.
You seem to have a lot of alchemical goods that are radiating energies.
Oh, right. Yes. So, as part of my work, I specialize in essence extraction. Is one of my specialties anyway. It's the one that I first started on. I can take essentially anything and distill it down to its true essence. So, for example, this right here, this it kind of sucks the light away from the room. It's nice dark swirling mass here. This small container is a dram of shadow essence.
Shadow essence.
Yes. When used appropriately, it could actually aid you in reaching the shadow realm, at least for a temporary amount of time, or can cloak you to be undiscoverable.
Very interesting.
Yes, so that's that. I also have an essence of fire, whenever you really needed to, I guess, make something extremely flammable. I don't use that one that often. This one right here, it's for special occasions, and I just haven't really found that special occasion yet. But I also have, and I will take out this glowing jar. It's a little larger than my dram bottles. This right here is the essence of the Jaclandu fruit. It grows on trees, far beyond the wastes even, in lands that we don't often get to travel to. This is what I did my main thesis on for the university, the properties and uses of the Jaclandu fruit. It's very unique because what this does is enhances and rejuvenates practically anything you combine it with, and it can have some very surprising side effects. So the first time I used this was actually on accident. I put it in a stone bowl, and then I was going to mix it with another compound that I made, an acid, to kind of experiment with the combination of those properties. And I used a wooden spoon because I didn't want the corrosion of the acid to go through metals. And the spoon began to grow roots, and then it began to grow back into an oak tree, and I had to rush it out of the lab before it expanded too much that I wouldn't be able to carry it, first off. Second, I didn't really want to destroy the lab with a growing tree that was growing approximately maybe 2 inches a second. It was very scary, but we managed to get it out of there in enough time where it wasn't going to block the door.
I shall be more careful before I accidentally swallow another spoon.
Oh, definitely. And that's when I realized that there was something very particular about the essence of the Jaclandu. Now I've been able to use this compound for anything from improvements in agriculture to improvements in building materials as well. And I hope that it will be able to be more readily available now that we actually have seeds to cultivate ourselves.
Well, I shouldn't meddle in the realms too much. I was going to say I could give you something that might help you grow them, but that would be meddling. One moment. Matthew, were you just in the mine? You're filthy. Please go get washed up.
Young Mr. Mercer, go get washed up.
God dang it. Actually, friend, I might have a little job for you if you could.
A job for me?
Yes, since you're an alchemist, you might be able to come up with something that could actually clean the kobolds. The soaps we have are not very effective.
Oh. So I think that I actually might be able to help you with this. I've been recently communicating with an acquaintance from another dimension, and I've had so many ideas from it, and I think that I have mastered the art of saponification myself. So it shouldn't actually be too hard. I know. And then I pull out a door from my backpack, and I set it flat on the ground before us. This is actually my very favorite piece of magic that I have. One of my good wizarding friends from the university was able to enchant this for me specifically, and it has been a godsend for when I'm doing my fieldwork and traveling. So, would you like to come into my lab?
Yeah.
Wonderful. And so I open the door. It's like one of those trap doors or cellar doors that you just like lift up and put to the side. And as I do so, you see the glow of light coming up from what is essentially a hole that has formed in the ground of your fine establishment. Yeah, so all you have to do is come down and I'm sure I can whip something up for you. This way. And so I go down the steps that are around the outer portion of my lab. You see that there's actually 2 floors to it. The top floor is one that has my set of actual lab materials, and then the lower floor is where I store all of my goods. And so, let me go down and get a few reagents from my storage. You see me climb down the next floor. You hear rattling around. I think this might work. Yes, and let's not forget the universal deodorizer, and I think we'll use a little pinch of this. Excellent. Climb back up. You see I am carrying now several containers, a couple bottles of liquids. So, I have learned that if you combine this strong base, we call it lye, with a little bit of this, we're going to be using the universal deodorizer. It's a liquid base that I've been able to produce over here. It helps negate odors. It's wonderful and so easy to use for cleaners around the bridge city specifically. I made it for a noble house once that needed some assistance with cleaning out their cellar. So this is what I provided for them. But anyways, that's besides the point. Here we go. And I'm going to mix a couple of oils here. The oils, when you're combining it with this lye, this strong base, are actually able to create the soap. I don't know if you've ever made soap yourself, but combining these together like so, and then we just stir. And that stirring takes a while. So while it's stirring, I'm just going to do a few moves with my hands. And I let go of the spoon, and the spoon is still stirring the pot. Here we go. And then we'll add in a couple more ingredients. What do you say about fragrances? Do the kobolds like certain things other than perhaps, mud and sweat?
I know that Jeremy, the one who brought us the tea, though he's still not back. I have to check on him. The one who's supposed to have brought us the tea, and Matthew both like sweet scents. Most of the other kobolds don't seem picky, though one likes coffee.
Ooh.
He's obsessed with coffee.
We are of the same mind, my friend. Coffee is what I use to wake me up every day. Tea is what I use to kind of calm and slow my mind down enough to refocus my attention. So how about we do a sweet cinnamon coffee, and then how about maybe a hint of vanilla? We'll put these together like so, and put it into a mold. Now we pour it like so. Excellent. And then we just let it set up for just a little while. And once it sets up, probably in the next day, you can take it out, cut it up, and it's ready for you to use.
Very nice.
Or for your kobolds to use anyway, but I'm sure you're more than welcome to use it unless they decide to hoard it for themselves. It can happen.
I think we'll keep the soaps hidden until it's time for them to get them.
Ooh, like a present.
Yes, they won't be expecting it, so that'll be even better. For now, do you think we could bring the soaps out?
Oh, yes.
Actually, I might be able to help them set faster. Magic is quite a godsend.
Yes, I find it amazing and wonderful that people can just make something from literally nothing, where I can just, make new things from different things. Magic has always been something that I'm fascinated by, but I've never been able to replicate myself.
Yes, magic works different in different realms, so in this one, I'm not taking it from specifically nothing. I'm taking it from the surrounding environment and manifesting it.
Ooh, fascinating.
It is very taxing to do, but here, let me hasten the process for this, so that way we can hide these quickly. Oh, even though they should be set, they're still gelatinous.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have actually mentioned that. When I meant set, I meant ready to use. These are designed to be gelatinous. I find that they are more entertaining to use, especially with, minions that may not really appreciate cleaning up. I call them gelatinous cubes. I don't know if you have... I base them off of a monster that we encountered one time in a dungeon. But one of the creatures that had moved in was this cube of goo that would suck in items and they would dissolve inside of its cube body. And so when I used this Jaclandu to really put together some soaps, it made this gelatinous consistency, this cube, and it reminded me of that day that we were able to take out this gelatinous cube, and so that's what I've called them.
I think we're going to have to train the kobolds to not attack them. They look quite like gelatinous cubes.
Oh, you have them as well! Wonderful! I mean, not wonderful, they are quite complicated creatures, but still.
Yes. Well, at least Jeremy is smart enough to understand not to attack things when we tell them. Maybe we can just tell him to teach the rest of them that it's soap.
Or perhaps we could just leave a cube next to one of their pillows and see their reaction when they wake up. And
That would be very mean, but I suppose we could do that.
I feel like that's a prank after my own heart, I have to say. I do appreciate a good prank.
I'm going to take these to the storage area real quick. I'll be back shortly.
Yeah, well, I hope that they make good use of them.
I just hope they don't attack them every time they see them.
yeah, that would be a loss.
If not, they'll just divide into more.
It's true. There's not really much that can go wrong with these. I assume, well, I suppose maybe if they decided to try to eat them, they'll definitely clean their insides out quite well.
Oh dear, that doesn't sound like it would be very pleasant, though.
Yes, I would say that they work much, much better on the outside than the inside.
So, anyway, to get back to you, Edana,
Yes!
have you ever done any adventuring?
I actually have. I've been on quite a number of them, actually. Now that I think about it, I suppose you could call me an adventurer of sorts.
Okay.
What adventures have you been on recently?
Well, recently, we were able to turn back a horde of witches and giants from invading the Dales. That was a very exciting time for me, and I could tell you more about it if you like.
Sure.
Absolutely, we'd love to hear.
Okay, so here's what's happening. The witches knew about... I don't exactly know how you would pronounce it, but on my world we say it's a terrasque.
Oh, a Tarask.
Yes, I think we're talking about the same thing. Slumbering when it wakes up, it tries to devour things in the world. Big, not good thing to wake up.
Yes, I had to fight one of those before. Not pleasant. Luckily, a certain person who I have dealings with happened to save my life.
Whew. Well, surprised that you were able to make it out alive. Everything that I've read is basically if once it wakes up, it's over. So, our goal was to make sure that this creature did not wake up. And so, what we had to do was prevent the witches and the giants from coming into the Dales. Now, what they were doing, they were trying to be more sneaky about it, but in a very obvious way, by building giant towers that were going to be used as leverage to pull this terrasque, this Tarask, as you say, out of the ground and awaken it, right? I don't exactly know what their plan was after that. I guess maybe the call of the void was very strong with them and they were going to act upon it, I suppose. But this is what we did. It was myself and my best friend Ruby, an interesting person that we met along the way whose name is Swampy, and he has this giant frog named Olgreg, and they apparently just hang out in the swamps together, and we ran across them one day, and they decided to come along with us and join in our exploits. So it's 3 of us trying to figure out how to stop this whole thing from getting well out of hand. And so I have... here, I'll show you. This rune plate is essentially a magical device. I don't know if you're familiar with the term of mechanica. It's essentially a magic-infused technology. And This right here is infused with what we call a meteor strike. It's a very powerful, very high-level magic. Magic that I actually don't know how to replicate, but, I didn't make these. Let's put it that way. I didn't make these. I found them. But they are highly explosive when activated. So we decided that the best way to do this would be to sneak in, place these in the towers, and in a few other select places, like, for example, all of the witches' huts, sneaking in there, putting some around, connecting them with very fine fuses, essentially. The detonation cords that you can attach to different explosives so they can all go off in a sequence of events. I don't know how familiar you are with demolitions, but this was my real first foray into doing something so big. And so once everything was set up, we obviously had to make sure that we could all set them off at a relatively appropriate and approximate time with each other. So we had one tower, which Swampy was in charge of. We had the other tower, which I was in charge of. And then we had the Witch's Hut community there for Ruby to take care of. And of course, mine was the one that would signal everyone else that it was time to activate these charges. I don't know how to describe to you, but I will do my best. When we activated these room plates, I thought that I had done my research on these well enough. I really did. I spent days, weeks even, really trying to understand what this could do. And once these charges activated, I was blown away by how effective they actually were.
Unintended?
Yes, it was very unintended, but a very pleasant experience. Well, not for them, obviously, but I only expected one charge to go off on each room plate, but I miscalculated. There were 5 charges on each room plate. And I don't know if you've ever experienced somebody casting a meteor strike before, but this was 5 of those times 5, because we put so many out, and the first tower went up into the air, almost like it was trying to leave the planet. It was trying to leave the land before it collapsed back down in a giant fireball. And that was just phase 1. The next one blew it all out into thousands of tiny pieces of wooden shrapnel and splinters. And then the second tower exploded. And then the witches' hut community that they had set up went up in flames. And the explosions just kept happening. And I have never been so proud of my work in all of my existence. It was like the night sky became daylight, and then the entire mountainside collapsed down into essentially the valley where this Terraskew was buried, covering it in the mountainside in another pile of rubble, burying it even deeper. So even if the witches were successful, they'd have to dig through an entire pile of rocks and a mountainside. I would say that this was the most surprising and biggest event that I had ever been a part of. And that was just a few weeks ago, actually. It's still fresh in my mind. I go to sleep and I dream of explosions, and it was magnificent.
Who doesn't love a good explosion?
Oh, it was glorious. Not to mention that we pushed back a tide of witches and giants, so that was also quite helpful. We did end up succeeding in our goal at that. But the explosion? I can't describe to you the joy that it brought me. It was so amazing. I wish you could see it.
I'm sure it was glorious.
Recently, that is my most recent exploits in field work. That's what I call it mostly. Adventuring in itself, it sounds very romantic and, kind of, oh, wouldn't it be lovely to be an adventurer? In reality, it's a pretty grimy, dirty, and somewhat complicated experience and practice. And so I prefer to call it fieldwork because I'm always learning something and always finding new things to incorporate into my alchemy.
Oh, you're never done learning in actuality.
No. And that's my favorite thing of going out and exploring the world and meeting new people. Like you.
Yes.
And it was a pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely wonderful.
does seem like we're running short on time, though, so we should probably find a way to get you back into your normal realm.
Well, let me pack up my things at the very least. We'll put these away, close the door, put it back in my bag. Come on, you can fit in there. Sometimes you have to stretch the corners of the bag to force it in. There we go. Okay, wonderful. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about me and my work and my adventures, and perhaps one day I'll be able to find this realm again.
Yes.
We'd be happy to have you.
Wonderful.
Well, until we see you again, have a good awakening.
Everything's quiet.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're waiting for
Oh,
you.
we're waiting for you.